Welcome to the video format of the Entrepreneur Lifestyle Podcast. And if you haven't yet, please do subscribe to our podcast using the link below. And now enjoy this interview. Today, I'm here with Carl Gould, who is the author of 7 books on business strategy, leadership, and sustainable growth. He's an international keynote speaker. He's been running businesses for 30 plus years, and he built and sold 3 multi-million-dollar businesses by the age of 40. Carl, welcome to the show.
Ben, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, my pleasure. So we spoke briefly beforehand. I know we don't want to dive into your story. You've told it so many times. So let's just keep it short, 60 seconds. What can you just take us on your journey so the audience can get a feel for where you've been and where you're at the moment?
Sure. So, I was studying accounting and finance in college, broke my leg pretty badly my second year, had to leave school, and that launched my serial entrepreneurship life. Maybe it did me a favor. So I had a landscape design build firm that morphed in that I sold that. And then I started a construction company, sold that. But starting in 1990, I started coaching with Tony Robbins and Stephen Covey's situational leadership. Franklin Covey, Ken Blanchard's situational leadership. And I've been on the coaching path since 1990, really.
Amazing. So when we look into the journey that you've been on, you obviously mentioned about breaking your leg and starting to build these businesses. Now, there's a lot of people right now who are setting up businesses. They're attempting to build things up. What is it that drove you to build and sell businesses? Because there's a lot of people that say the business is the baby, they don't want to sell it. How is it that you managed to do that? What was it that was driving you?
Well, in the first instance, I sold the business as much out of necessity as anything else because my leg had not healed the way I had hoped, and I needed some additional surgery and rehabilitation. So it was more of a forced sale the first time. But once I sold it, I felt great. I felt this liberation that I had built something literally from the ground up. And being in the landscaping business was not my passion play. It wasn't something that I felt was my calling in any way. So not only did I feel it was rewarding to be able to grow something, build into something, and then sell it, but I also felt a sense of relief and liberation at the same time because it wasn't what I felt I was called to do. And I'm like, wow, I'm out of that now. I can really pursue something different, which was awesome.
So when we look into your journey from being a very successful serial entrepreneur into the coaching element, what was it that drew you to coaching? You mentioned you moved into it in the 1990s, obviously with a few different people that you were following. How is it that you were moved into that? What sparked that interest?
Well, funny enough, a friend of mine had won the lottery early on in the late 80s. And she said, I'm looking into some personal development. And I said, okay, well, I'll do some research for you. And I came back and I said, well, there's this guy, Tony Robbins. It seems like he's up and coming and he seems to be doing some really cool things. And this was 1988, and so she went to the seminars and said, it was really good. It was, thanks for the recommendation. She went to one of his seminars at his house. That's where Tony Robbins was at the time. And so she came back and said, yeah, it was really good. I think you'd like it. And so I went to a few of his seminars in 1990, and I really loved the whole idea of peak performance and coaching, which was a relatively new industry at the time. Not many people have heard about it. Not many people were involved in it. And I said, man, the idea that I can help somebody design and then pursue their dreams was really, really enticing to me. And I said, man, I'm good at this. I like this. I think this is a lot closer to my passion. And that was actually right after I started my first business. So I was doing coaching all through the 90s as a side hustle.
Okay.
So, yeah. And what was interesting, what really got me going was I told all of the companies I was the certified coach for that I wanted your international clients. And they said, wow, what do you have? Dreams of international business? I said, no, I run a company all day long, so I can't have anybody on the East Coast. So I need the European clients because I can coach them before I go to work. I need the Australian and New Zealand and Asian clients because in the afternoon is the next day for them. So I just need them that are geographically friendly, and South Africa. So I started off with clients all around the world, and that's what really helped me later on in my career, because it gave me a base in like over 30 countries.
Yeah. And I think what's fascinating is you must have gained a lot of different perspectives and an understanding and a deeper understanding of business than most people could ever ask for from those, from coaching different entrepreneurs from different walks of life. When you look into building a multi-million-dollar business, what do you think are some of the keys that people miss that are more important now than ever when we look into the foundations of building a business post-COVID?
Commitment, resilience, and hustle. Like there's a fine line, Ben, at $1 million, U.S. equivalent annual revenue or annual turnover. And you can hustle your way to a $5 million business. I mean, just pure hustle. So if you are just determined, even if you don't have great strategy, you're not the sharpest tool in the shed, it does, you could still hustle your way because you'll outwork everyone along the way. But you got to be committed. And what we've found, because we've launched over 5,000 businesses over the years, is that not everybody has the level of commitment to make it to multi-millions, right? Once you get over a million, you're a multi-million, right? And so you have to have that. You got to be willing to hustle, and you have to deploy and grow your muscle of resilience. Things are going to happen. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have to work through them. The game is not fair. And, while people will be rooting for you in the beginning, only 1 out of 15 people is an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of, wreckage along the way of the entrepreneurial journey. And so you really have to be more committed to making it than the rest of the world is committed to you not making it. And so if you can do those 3 things, from a mindset and a psychological standpoint, you got it. You will win.
So when we look into your journey of building the multi-million-dollar businesses and making it happen, you mentioned there about the hustle and how important it is to work harder than other people. How is it that you can manage that balance of not being burnt out and overwhelmed, but working incredibly hard? Like, is there any things that you found are very effective to manage them?
Yeah, I mean, I live both lives. I remember how tired I was in the 90s, mid 80s through 90s when I started my companies, because I wasn't doing what I loved, and I was adapting my behavior every day. So the 2 things that you need to do is to avoid burnout are, 1, engineer your day so it fits in with your rhythms. I'm up all hours of the night. I used to wait to send my emails out. Forget it. You're around me, you're going to get an email at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's just the way it goes. I'm up half the night. That's the way I am. I work when I get on a project. I like to work 100% at it, and just go. I don't pace myself, right? And I was trying to pace myself in my other business. I was miserable, right? So 1, you've got to engineer your workday around your rhythms. If you're early, then go to your boss, and if you're an early riser, go to your boss and say, hey, is it okay if I come in from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. as opposed to 9 to 5? I'm already up. These are my best hours of my day. Or if you're a night owl, is it okay if I come in at 12 and work till 8? As long as you're productive, I'm sure your boss is going to be okay with it. And if you're in your own business, say to your clients, this is the times that we are active. Is that okay? When I had my construction company, I used to say to my clients, I need access to your facility 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. each day. They said, you're going to be working at 10 p.m.? I'm like, yeah, if we can. And they'd be like, really? I said, yeah, I just want to bang it out and get it done. So I'd rather work 7 to 10 p.m. 3 days a week and then take a day off than work 9 to 5 all 5 days. So you've got to engineer your day in a way that it works for you. Otherwise, if you're adapting your behavior, it's one of the most exhausted things that you do. Now, the second thing is you have to have some enjoyment of your professional life. And I'm not one of these guys that says you have to do your passion, right? Just because you love to surf doesn't mean you have to open a surf shop, right? And you love gardening, so you have to open up a garden center. I'm not suggesting that at all. But there are 3 aspects to your work. You got to like, if not love, at least one of the 3. You have to like either what you do or why you're doing it or how you're doing it. right? Now, it's ideal that you have 2 or 3. But if you like what you do every day, it's not going to feel as bad. I actually enjoy this. This is good. I'm doing what I love. Or maybe you don't like exactly what you're doing. You're in a job or you're doing a function in your business that, it's not your favorite thing. Maybe you're really love marketing, but you're in the finance department, right? But you love why you're doing it. Maybe we're helping people. We're changing the world. We're making the world a better place. We're giving back to the right? Maybe one of those things is going on. Or maybe how you're doing it is what turns you on. Like if you look at Uber, Uber fascinates me because what they do has been around forever. Why they do it, I don't know that anybody knows why, right? The why isn't the big thing that everybody knows, but they're winning on the how. They took taxi dispatch software, combined it with Google Maps or a version of Maps and a rating system. And they just put that in the hands of the passenger as opposed to giving it to the taxi company. That's all they did. And they said, look, any one of you can be a taxi driver. Any one of you can be a taxi dispatch. That's it. But their how is so wickedly compelling and so cool that they're winning on the how.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
So as long as you love any one of those 3, that's good. If you can get to 2 of the 3, much better. Because I learned the hard way in my landscaping company. When I first started, what I did, I liked it, but it was okay. Why I was doing it, it was really just to make money. I didn't have a strong why. I just said I need to replace the money I was making because I had to leave college. All of my loans came due. I had to figure out a way to pay for everything. But that wasn't a very compelling why. How I was doing it was really compelling because I had learned a few things that differentiated myself in the marketplace. I was young, and the fact that I was winning at such a young age, I was like, wow, this is really cool. But after a while, it got old. And when I ticked the box on the how, I was like, is this it? Am I going to be doing this for the rest of my life? No way. No way. So if you're going into business, you got to love one of those 3 things.
Got it. Yeah. So for those listening, we've got the why, we've got the what, we've got the how, and understanding what of those is very important to you. And having at least 2, if you can get 3, that'll be fantastic to move you forward. So when we look into designing your day and designing your week, what is it that you found over the decades that you have done coaching and figured out a routine that works for you that you find is best? Is it you make sure that every weekend you have 2 days off with family? Is it different? Is it flexible? What are some of the cornerstone things that you have in place that other entrepreneurs here can gain some ideas on when they're looking at designing that day for them to optimize performance?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of advanced planning. I like to plan. I've drawn out a life plan, then I've drawn out the next decade, then I draw out the next year, and then I do quarters, months, and then weeks. And what I've found is that you can predict the future, and that if you're committed, there is an inevitability to your results if you want it bad enough. Like if you and I said, hey, look, let's work together. We're going to get in the best shapes of our lives. Well, you know how many push-ups that is, and you know how many sit-ups it is, and you know how much running it is, and you know what foods to eat and not, and what drinks to have and not. Like, it's not a surprise. And we know if we did a certain amount of push-ups every day, it's inevitable we would lose the weight. Mm-hmm. If I needed to bring in, if we said, you and I said, hey, Carl, over the next month, we need to bring in another client. We know how many phone calls to make, or how many network meetings to go on, or how many appointments to have, or how many proposals to put out before we get a client. So I'm a big fan of trying to predict the future as much as possible and making it as predictable. So if I say, look, this is something I really want, right? Then I know the work that it takes. And if I'm willing to do that work, I'm likely going to get it. I'm likely going to get it. So the question is, how bad do you want it? And then you plan for it. So if I want to go on vacation next summer, I want to put it in my calendar now, 6 months in advance or a year in advance, so that I can work the entire year to make sure I've protected that window of time so I can go on vacation. So the longer in advance you can predict your activities, the better you're managing your life and your business. Right? I know when the networking events are for next year. They're already in the calendar. So I put them in my calendar and then I work around them.
What do you do with an outcome that you're trying to achieve, but you don't have that predictability in order to achieve it, and you're feeling unsure of what's involved there? What's the kind of strategy that you use in that case?
Yeah, those are hard because whenever an outcome is outside your control, it's much harder to plan for it. So whenever something's outside of my control, one, I try to bring as much of it into my control as possible and reduce the variables. So for example, if my success is based on the activities of 10 other people, I don't have a lot of control over that. So one, I want to make sure that the people that I'm relying on share my vision. Like they want the same things. We have a shared goal, because if they don't, it's going to be hard for me to achieve it. So, if I'm trying to get my kids to eat their vegetables, and that's what makes me a good dad, I'm in for a long road. You know what I mean? So,
yes.
And so I want to explain to them why it's important to eat your vegetables. And even though you don't like it, here's why it's good for you. Here are the results you'll like by doing it. And so I want to get everybody in alignment when it's outside of my control. And then what I want to do is I want to over communicate, overwork, and put a lot of different plan B and C in place in case plan A fails.
Got it. Yeah. And I think that's really important to be able to plan and have those plan B, C, D, depending on how many you need, so that you've got that foundation, so you've got those fallbacks to really help you achieve that result. So taking a slightly different turn, you've certified over 7,000 coaches since 2002, and you've had so much experience in the coaching field. I'm very curious to understand for yourself, how is it that you can have people to use your methodologies that you use in 7-Stage Advisors, as well as you as if you were teaching it? Like, what are some of the keys that you found is paramount in order for you to get the coaches to be at the same level as you? I mean, they may never be at the same level, but to a point where they can still perform consistently at a high level.
Yeah. So for somebody to take on a methodology, in this case, I've been blessed that people have taken on mine, and I've taken on others as well. That's how I started my career. Is the intellectual property, the methodology has to solve a problem. And the problem that there's two major problems that my methodology solves as it relates to your practice. Like if you're the coach, I'm starting a coaching practice. What is this methodology going to help me do? Number one, it helps you extend the length and duration of an engagement. The average coaching engagement is 3 to 6 months. The average coaching engagement I have in my methodology is 4 years. Right? But the average of the people that take it on is about 18 months. And we created two diagnostic wheels that have 9 components in each one. And you need to do a month's worth of coaching for each component. That's an 18-month program. So if you're trying to launch a coaching business, the longer the engagement, the more stable and sustainable your practice is going to be. The second is, can I earn and invoice enough to make this my primary income? And can I earn meaningful income so that it can support my lifestyle, whatever that meaningful is to the other person.
Sure.
And so it solves that one as well. And so over the years, people have used parts of the methodology, the whole methodology, any part that makes sense to them in their practice. So we're not a franchise by any stretch where you're required to use the whole thing. It's a certification program. It's an education program where you use it. You take the bits that work in whatever you're trying to accomplish in your practice. And for the parts that don't work, or the parts that, you might already have a solution in, you don't use those parts.
Got it. So when it comes to maintaining the quality, how do you keep the quality consistently high of the people that you certify using your methodology?
Well, you can have additional certifications, like you have to renew your certification and your license. We put out a lot of content around the methodology that keeps it fresh in little bite-sized bits. So we make it easy for you to use it. So on my LinkedIn page, for example, we write an article every single month that's based on the 7-stage growth methodology.
Yes.
All of our TikTok videos and Instagram videos are based on it. Our Facebook posts, it's all based on our method. So, I'm not asking you to relearn the whole thing. I'm giving you bits and pieces, and you can reuse them as you wish. And that keeps it top of mind for the practitioners.
Brilliant. And I remember reading something about your mantra being, I need to hang up the hammer. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Good research. So back in the 90s, I hired a coach from my construction company. And if there were hashtags back then, it would have been hang up the hammer, because the business ran me more than I ran it.
Yes.
And so I was swinging a hammer every day. So I said to Eric, who was my coach at the time, I'm like, we got to hang up the hammer. I got to hang up the hammer. Got to hang up the hammer. I got to turn this into a real business. So I did. And then when there came a point where I wanted to become a full-time business coach, we then positioned the coach for sale. But yeah, hang up the hammer was very much our mantra.
Cool. So let's just dive into that just briefly. So when we look at the hanging up the hammer, what have you found is some of the keys in order for people to move from that business operator stage into a business owner? Because like you've said, you've launched over 5,000 different businesses. You've had so much of a wealth of experience here. I'm very curious to see what you think are some of the key things that people maybe miss out on that they need to focus on to make that transition.
Yeah, in order for your business to be sustainable, you've got to build systems and processes that a C player can operate at an A level, right? Not just because I get it. You want A players. That's great. But if your business relies on A players, you're going to have a hard time keeping, and retaining A players, because if you're going for a 10 out of 10, well, you know what 10s think about all day long? Being a 10, not about working for you, but being a 10. You want an 8. You want an 8 that's really good, that wants to improve, that wants to become a 10 in your system, right? And so if you're just looking for A players, they're going to leave you. They're going to leave. Sorry, they're not going to hang around all that long, because someone's going to throw more money at them, or somebody's going to throw a better deal at them, or they're going to go into their own business. That's where 10s tend to go. You want 8s all day long. And your systems have to be documented and scripted in such a way that they can operate their particular function like a 10.
Brilliant. I think that is absolutely fascinating advice. One of the last questions that I have for you is, I know recently you started TEDx Butler. I was curious as to what moved you into that and why you wanted to give back on the TEDx stage.
Oh, well, I really wanted to give back. There's so many people who have done so many things for me over the years, and TEDx was an opportunity to bring together speakers and ideas and thinkers, and in such a way that it would, contribute to people growing and learning. And, TEDx has a really good process and system.
Yes.
And they've done a good job of staying true to their message. And so I felt it was really good opportunity to just give back to people. And it didn't have to be about me. It's not about me at all. It's about the other presenters and bringing ideas around a central theme. And, we just had the event. It was terrific, very well received. And, and it really, I was really proud to be able to pull it off, and our team did a great job. And I was happy to be able to contribute.
Love that. So what are some of the resources that you found have been most paramount on your journey? I looked in, you spent 6 years with EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. You spent a lot of time with Tony Robbins. You've been there, played the game, out the other side. You've obviously got your own methodologies as well. Where do you go for some of the best resources to keep you up to date on the latest trends and to keep you ahead of the game so you're constantly performing at a high level?
Well, one of the things is I stay in touch with the coaches that we've certified. So there's thousands around the world, and we're always sharing information. So we have mechanisms, social media, online forums, where we're always sharing information, and that keeps me up to date on the latest and greatest. And the people that have gone through the method that use it will send me things and say, hey, Carl, this would be a great addition, or we ought to think about that. I also have our Growth Academy, where it brings together entrepreneurs from all around the world. We also have our coaches gathering, which brings people from all around the world as well. And so we're always sharing ideas and always sharing best practices. That's how we roll in the coaching community. And that's been really refreshing.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit more about the Growth Academy event. I think you have one coming up in February.
Yeah. So the Growth Academy, what we do is our methodology is based on 4 guiding principles. You have to grow in strategy, business development, finance, and operations. And so for 2 full days, you and your key team come and immerse yourself in these training tracks. And so if you're the owner, we're going to put you in the strategy track. And if you bring your salesperson, we're going to put them in the business development track. And you bring your finance person, we're going to put them in the finance track. You bring your ops person, they're going to go in the ops track, where they're working with all of our other clients and other companies that are trying to grow as well. And so you meet with your counterparts in other businesses. So you learn best practices, but you also learn from our trainers who are giving you the latest and greatest in the area of the business, in the area of your business and in your niche that you need right now.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So it's been an absolute pleasure diving into your story. Although briefly, I think we've reflected on a few different subjects today. If there was one last thing that you wanted to leave our listeners with, what would be that last thing that you wanted to share?
Well, we're in a time right now that typically spurs a lot of new business growth. So in recessionary times or volatile times, there's a little dip in the beginning, but it's usually a hallmark of them is that business owners jump in for a variety of reasons right now. It is a great time to start a business. It's a great time to pursue your passion. And technology has never been so good as it has been now to help people launch and grow a business. So it's an amazing time. Stay committed to your idea. Your idea is a great idea. No discounting your prices. Charge what you're worth. Stay committed. Be authentic and understand who your client is and deliver exactly what they're asking, and you're going to be wildly successful. It's a very simple formula. The formula has been out there for a while. You just have to remain committed to it.
Fantastic. What a great thing to end on. And for those listening who want to get in contact and understand a little bit more about what you do, where's the best place for them to find more information?
Just go to carlgould.com, CARLGOULD, carlgould.com. My personal website is carl360.com. Either one of those is a great way to connect.
Fantastic. Well, for those listening, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to interview you today, Carl, and we will see you in the next one.